Good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Jessica Blum here, joining you from the 1011 Now Alert Center to talk about the forecast here this evening, our next chance of rain, the warm weather that is now with us for the rest of this week. In fact, getting a little warmer day by day as we go forward this work week especially, and then temperatures are set to tumble, unfortunately, by this upcoming weekend. So as for your next big change, again, those temperatures are expected to stay above average from here on out the rest of this work week, especially through Friday. Then we're talking about scattered showers between now and then happening the second part of Wednesday, really across the state. And yes, some isolated thunderstorms will be possible. Those will be on the weaker side, of course, with this time of the year. And temperatures will turn colder by this upcoming weekend. So a lot to talk about. I did want to first give a shout out to the preschoolers through the 6th grade class that we saw at St. Edward Public School. Carmelo and I took the good 2-hour trip north into Boone County to see all these kiddos and get them a good presentation about weather and hopefully inspire some of those kids maybe to take our career path going into the future. But a lot of great questions from this group. They were very curious about what we do, about tornadoes, about the weather shield itself as we took the car up there. Of course, too big of a group to kind of take a picture with the weather shield. And as you can imagine, spots are really filling up fast. I think we've had about 16 school visits so far for the year. We've got about another 25, I think, on the books. So spots are filling up fast, and the school year is going to kind of come to an end before you know it. Actually, kind of saying that because spring break will be here, March is around the corner, and only a couple months after that, if that. So that also means less days to see snow and have to deal with snow and school. Hopefully one or the other, kind of like we saw with a snow day last week. But yeah, that QR code in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, if you want to scan that and fill out the form, we can get you on the books for what we have left to come out for a school visit. Again, one of us meteorologists come talk about what we do for a day. We like to show the kids kind of a virtual tour of our studio. And we talk all things severe weather. Of course, that's relevant information as we get toward the warmer months here, out of February and even into March, but especially April and into May. We'll get completely busy with some of those storms and storm season. Though Severe Weather Awareness Week, I've kind of been sprinkling in that information from time to time. That'll be coming up in March, and that'll be a great week to practice tornado drills as a school, kind of tornado safety, severe weather safety. In fact, I should have this on the top of my head, but I just don't. Severe Weather Awareness Week for this year is March 27th through Friday the 31st. So the end of March. That is not right. Oh, where is it? That was last year, I think. Yeah, 2025. Where is 2026? Gosh, I should have this information off the top of my head, but I just don't. And I want to get this information to you guys in case you're curious. Again, we're talking about the Nebraska Severe Weather Awareness Week. Severe Weather Awareness. Of course, we'll have like topics throughout the week to talk about too here on our streams in the evening. Oh. Severe Weather Awareness Week. There we go. 23rd through the 27th. So yes, usually kind of one of the last weeks of March, but they'll do the statewide tornado drill at 10 a.m. March 25th. I know if you're here in Lancaster County, the Lincoln-Lancaster County emergency managers usually ask that you fill out their form and how you did the drill, and so that they know you've done the drill and good things like that. But as for your almanac for the day today, you can see we did get up to 53 degrees after a low of 23. We weren't nearly as cold as yesterday morning was, falling down to about 0. And then we did manage to get to 53 degrees, even despite the clouds, despite a northwesterly breeze today in the capital city. That was up around... That wasn't too bad today. 10, 15 miles per hour tops out of the north to northwest. But we haven't had added to the precipitation since our snowfall last week. Sunset continues to get later. Again, we'll have to spring forward an hour, not this weekend, but the weekend after that. So your low temperatures across the state were a mixed bag of teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50 degrees for Scotts Bluff. Some of the cooler spots, Takema at 18, Ord at 19. Still have a decent amount of snow on the ground. Here in Lincoln, that kept us down in the lower 20s for a low, but then we were able to rebound. Omaha, though, only in the upper 40s. Takema, 43 degrees. Then you'll notice some in southwest Nebraska trying to get towards 70 degrees, Tuesday, February 24th. And that warm air is going to spread eastward with time as we go throughout this week. But a pretty quiet look at sky view cameras across the state. And we've had that cloud cover out here for much of the day today. That should largely be unchanging, I think, for much of the day tomorrow. In fact, the cloud cover overnight tonight is probably going to keep us from seeing too much fog develop toward the morning hours. So I think once we see this rain chance, we'll go through that for the second part of Wednesday. There will be some clearing Wednesday night into Thursday morning. I think that'll be the first morning that we're looking at maybe some patchy areas of fog, maybe some denser areas of fog. I'll show you what the latest version of Skycast is showing for fog formations we head toward the end of the work week. But 42 degrees right now at the Lincoln Airport, as well as here at 1011 Studio. So not too bad. The wind's under 5 miles per hour. We've got a little more moisture in the air as you look at dew points in the 30s. It's 39 right now in Omaha, 40 in Wahoo, 42 up in David City, 40 in Fullerton, 41 in Stromsburg. We've got 45 in Hebron. Looking across the state, those above I-80 or to the north of I-80 are in the 30s. Just past 8 o'clock on your February 24th, but some are still in the 50s. McCook is at 50, Sydney is at 52, Imperial 53, so comfortable evening in some of those locations, though it has been a little more windy out west. I will show you this temperature change map. This 24-hour temperature change map has been significant over the last couple of days. A lot of us in eastern Nebraska are running 10 to 20 degrees warmer than at this time yesterday, especially those along the Missouri River. Takema, Fall City are almost 25 degrees warmer than at this time yesterday, with very, very calm winds. Even out in western Nebraska, they're starting to calm down, even though we did have some peak wind gusts out in the Panhandle, over 50 miles an hour. Sydney, you had a wind gust top out at 56 miles an hour today, closing in on almost 50 in Scotts Bluff, though we did have a decent breeze in southeast Nebraska, peaking around 20 to 25 miles per hour. As you look at satellite, there are some areas of very light rain trying to show up on radar, though I'm thinking those radars are really seeing higher up in some of these clouds, and a lot of this isn't making it to the ground. What's going to give us some better forcing throughout tonight and into tomorrow will be a low-pressure system kind of developing off the Rockies from northeastern Wyoming into south-central Nebraska. And with that, the second part of Wednesday, we should get a chance at rain for some. It won't add up to much. And with that chance of rain, there will be an isolated chance at a rumble of thunder, especially for those in southern Nebraska, right around I-80 from Lincoln west toward the Tri-Cities. North Platte's included in this, as is Ogallala and much of southwestern Nebraska. So no risk for severe weather. We're just within the general outlook for thunderstorms, meaning you can hear thunder. You may get some lightning with stronger storm, but not everyone's going to see it. But if someone were to see it in Nebraska, it would generally be within this area, I think, by the second part of Wednesday, largely by the afternoon and evening time frame. In fact, let's show you that and break it down hour by hour with Skycast going tonight and overnight. Again, still, I think some of those radar blips showing up from time to time overnight and into tomorrow morning at various spots in the state, but not of that. A lot of that is really expected to make it to the ground. It's the second part, the better forcing. You kind of see the wind field starting to circulate around north central Nebraska. Again, that low pressure system coming out of Wyoming and tracking through the state, and with it will come some scattered chances at rain. First in northern Nebraska by the afternoon, that's 2 o'clock. And then you look at 5, 6 o'clock. This is coming together a little bit better, maybe for areas of central, south central Nebraska into southeastern Nebraska. Lincoln may be on the edge of some of these showers, but you see some of those yellows, those oranges, that Skycast showing maybe a rumble of thunder, maybe a bolt of lightning in there with the strongest of any of this activity. But we know the time of the year just isn't right to really get a true severe risk That'll be here before you know it. This is 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. Still some scattered showers out there in southern Nebraska, back toward the Panhandle. And you'll notice in northeast Nebraska, SkyCast is trying to show a little snow mixing in. It will largely be Iowa seeing any of that snow trying to change over, but northeast Nebraska could see a few flakes mixing in, though a lot of us will be warm enough to see the primary precipitation type be rain for your Wednesday. And overnight, you see the clearing, and you see this model hinting at some fog formation in eastern Nebraska. We've had the melting with a lot of the snowpack, and then even with a little bit of rain, even though it won't be much, I think the snowpack, as it melts, is adding a lot of moisture to the atmosphere. And with a clear night and a quiet night that Wednesday into Thursday is expected to be, we certainly could see some fog in some of these areas, especially the low-lying areas toward the Platte River, the Missouri River. But this is hinting at what could be a larger area, some fog by Thursday morning that Lincoln, maybe Omaha is impacted by. So keep that in mind for the morning commute as we talk about Friday Eve or your Thursday, and whatever we see for fog formation should improve, especially mid to late morning hours as we go on throughout your day. But let's bring it down to southeastern Nebraska, kind of shrink this view and give you a closer idea of what's going to happen closer to home. Again, this is overnight into tomorrow. Radar may be showing a few returns. Not a lot of this is making it to the ground because, again, that better forcing is going to come with the low pressure system moving in the second part of Wednesday. And you'll see those showers do move in after 5, 6, 7 o'clock, in and around the evening commute, if not just after that, once we've gotten home. Maybe a quick downpour for some that isn't going to add up to much, kind of going to move in, move out rather quickly. And then you see what SkyCast is trying to hint at some low-level clouds, if not some fog formation, early on Thursday that would improve, again, mid to late morning hours on Thursday, which would be February 26th at this point. So as for your precipitation potential in any of these areas, you saw those showers are widely scattered, so take this with a grain of salt. But anyone that sees some of that rain throughout Wednesday could add up to 0.05 of an inch, a tenth, at most if you're lucky, maybe a quarter of an inch. This model is showing Lincoln at 1/100th. I don't think everyone's going to see precipitation out of this, and for a lot of us, it may not be all that meaningful. Again, western Nebraska could do with a really good day of soaking rain, but they may, out of this too, only be looking at up to a tenth of an inch. In fact, that's what the 3-day precipitation potential shows for much of the state. Eastern Nebraska, nothing, trace to about a tenth of an inch. So if you get much more than a tenth of an inch, consider yourself lucky. And we'll take that. As for snowfall potential, again, there really isn't that to talk about in the forecast for many of us across the state. But I did even want to show you that as for anything accumulating, it's largely northwestern Iowa and central Iowa with what happens tonight into early Thursday. So even if you see a few snowflakes mix in northeast Nebraska, nothing's really expected to accumulate over the next couple of days. As for your Lincoln Schaefer's forecast, by 9 o'clock tonight, still around 40 degrees, mostly cloudy. Our cloud cover tonight should be keeping temperatures rather warm compared to the last couple mornings. Still around 30 degrees by 7 a.m. tomorrow. Our average low at this time of the year is at 22 degrees. But afternoon high tomorrow doesn't get quite as warm as today, just with some of that cloud cover, I think, sticking around through much of the day. We'll look at a high in the lower 50s compared to kind of the lower 50s we were at today. Maybe only pretty similar day, I guess, across the board. If we got to 53 today, 52 tomorrow, kind of rinse and repeat kind of day, even though I think we are going to see light winds again tomorrow, too. I was expecting the wind to come up a little more today than it did. But light winds tomorrow becoming southeasterly once that low pressure system starting to develop a little bit more. So in the morning, maybe 5, 10 miles per hour, maybe at times 15 miles per hour. But not a bad Wednesday. It's just going to be cloudy and at times some scattered showers, I think, as we head toward the evening in southeast Nebraska. So the breakdown in your temperatures and the chance for precipitation starts to go up toward 20% after about noon, 1 o'clock. And then we bump it to 30% even as we head toward 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. And even with the clouds, even with the areas of rain, 52 degrees above average for this time of the year. So your forecasted low temperatures tonight, Middle upper 20s to around the lower 30s, maybe still around 40 degrees in Sydney and Scottsbluff. Another warm night for them. And they're expected to get back to the 60s to around 70 degrees. You'll notice, though, quite the range in temperatures with areas of snow trying to move into northeast Nebraska and a little more cloud cover. Yankton in South Dakota, Storm Lake in Iowa, highs in the 30s, but northeast Nebraska, highs in the 40s. We're sitting on the edge of kind of some of these seasons trying to battle it out. Kind of March is kind of when we see the push and pull between winter trying to hold on and spring trying to take over. And we can see these drastic temperature changes from one side of the state to the other. So a high of 53 in Wayne, but a high of 70 degrees in Imperial and McCook. So 52 here in Lincoln, and we'll bump up to the 60s by Thursday. Thursday's winds look to be out of the west, anywhere around 5, 10, maybe gusting as high as 20 miles per hour. Pretty sunny day. Talking about tea times, I think Thursday is a great day for that. And if you can push it to Friday, because Friday should have light winds as well out of the north to northwest, around 10 to 20 miles per hour, but a high almost near 70 degrees. Looking like a great end of the work week. And what I wish was the Thursday and Friday was our Saturday and Sunday. But our Saturday and Sunday, those temperatures will get a lot colder compared to Thursday and Friday. In fact, let's show you Saturday. Highs in the 30s, the 40s, cold air spilling in from the north. That'll feel a lot different from closing in on almost 70 degrees on Friday. So almost a 30-degree turnaround on Saturday. And with that, some higher winds, maybe around 25 to 30 miles per hour out of the northeast. So even with a high of 44, we'll likely be feeling rather chilly, I think, throughout your Saturday. To end this weekend, even colder still. Look at eastern Nebraska. We may climb to only freezing by that day, and the winds will be out of the east around 10 to 20 miles per hour. So bundle up over this weekend. The outside time, the time to enjoy the outdoors, I think, is Thursday, Friday this week. It looks like we will have maybe a chance for snow going into the end of the weekend, and that may be what kind of really drives these temperatures down toward freezing in eastern Nebraska. Meanwhile, Scottsbluff is still trying to hold on to the lower 50s for a high. So certainly going to see the peak in temperatures this week on Friday. Then you see we slide right back down on this roller coaster ride throughout the weekend, going into meteorological spring on Sunday with the start of March. And then we'll climb back to the upper 30s Monday, 40s, then 50s. It should stay in the 50s, I think, toward the back half of next week. In fact, early March does look to favor above average temperatures. That's kind of the stronger signal out of temperatures and precipitation. I'll show you those maps here in a second. As for your 10-day forecast, looking a little farther out, Friday sticks out as the warmer day for everyone, and then Sunday, the colder day for everyone until we kind of moderate and see some of those warmer temperatures come back through day 4, day 5, day 6 of March with some 50s and even some 60s in there by not this upcoming Thursday, but the following Thursday. As for precipitation chances, they are highest around tomorrow, and then even looking toward the end of next week. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But even with chances for snow, I think by the end of the weekend and into early next week, chances are small. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on that next system and how much it's able to produce at this time of the year. Haven't looked that far out because that is still several days away at this point on a Tuesday, but your 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook does favor above average precipitation for the 4th through the 10th, at least a good chance of it for the eastern half of the state. But the stronger signal, this is what I was talking about. Our Climate Prediction Center temperature outlook for the 4th through the 10th, some deep dark reds, which would mean we're got a great chance at above average temperatures for that time period. You're likely closing in on the lower 50s, if not higher than that. So keep that in mind for that time frame. Looking warm past the 7-day stretch because temperatures are kind of here, there, and all over the place. As we talk about the end of this work week being rather mild, closing in again on almost 70 degrees by Friday, but only highs in the 40s on Saturday that probably won't feel like the 40s, and then rather chilly on your Sunday with more cloud cover too by the end of the weekend and into early next week with maybe a small chance for snow. So those will be things we'll look into as this week progresses. Again, just wanted to give you a better chance or a bit better idea of the chance for some rain for the middle of this week as temperatures are warming toward Thursday and Friday, but we'll keep an eye on, of course, the forecast as we get toward meteorological spring and what that entails. And of course, again, severe weather season will be here before you know it. I don't want to jinx us, but we've been talking about it a lot with school talk, so it's certainly on my brain to kind of keep everyone up to date and with the latest know-how. So, of course, stay tuned for that. Again, the week of March 23rd through the 27th, we'll be covering topics throughout the week, and I'll kind of give you a breakdown as we get closer to that week, kind of what we'll cover when each evening throughout that time frame. So, for now, hope everyone has a great Tuesday evening. If we can hopefully pick up on a little rain, that would be nice. We'll take whatever we can, as a lot of central and western Nebraska continues to see drought conditions worsen from time to time as we get out of winter and into early spring. And spring should be the time that we start to get some more efficient precipitation in the form of rain rather than snow. But we can see it all. I don't think the snow is just done with us yet this winter season. But until next time, we will hope you have a great Tuesday evening.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our smart TV apps and follow us on social media at 1011 News.